Well, I was going to leave this video. I was going to do a video from the top of the tree, but it started pouring rain. I was in the lift, actually. I was going to go up in the lift and kind of have a backdrop of north side of Madison, and it started pouring. It's over now, but I was 10 minutes from being done, and I was like, I'm not going to stop my production for this rain. I'm too close to getting done. When I hit the ground, I'm on the ground. I'm staying on the ground. So I couldn't do the video from up there. So now I'm in the car, getting the heat going, trying to get warm. It's not that cold out necessarily. It's 54 degrees, but 54 in rain, you know, you get wet at 54, you kind of feel cold. So I'm almost 5 months into a mostly carnivore diet, probably 95%. After 3 months, I've tried a few things. I've tried almonds. I reacted to almonds. I tried a few cashews, didn't react to the cashews. The almonds, I kind of got a little, you know, my throat got tight. And then I tried some broccoli. Well, first I tried asparagus. That was my first, you know, non-starchy vegetable. And I had a couple of starchy vegetables, like roots. It was kind of a chef that we went to when we were on vacation, Lisa and I. And they had these very eclectic, esoteric vegetables. And as I consumed them, I could tell that they were roots. So there was probably some starch in those, but there wasn't many of them. You know, when you go out to a fancy restaurant, the portions are really quite small. So I had a few carbs there. And then I tried broccoli the other night when we were out to eat. And, you know, that was, you know, good. But, you know, I found that my palate has changed. Like what I care to eat has changed. You change something for 3+ months, and all of a sudden, you know, that broccoli just doesn't, the texture just doesn't feel right. You know, I mean, yeah, I could eat it. What I ended up doing was I ate it with the meat, which some people say is like good to kind of chew them together, you know, get the digestion going right away in your mouth biome, and then send it down to the gut all together. So anyways, you know, a couple things. And I introduced cocoa. I was a sourdough maker before. Well, you know, that's not going over with a ketogenic lifestyle. So I have now officially not made sourdough for over a month. You know, Lisa was making me make it, but then I made it and she didn't really eat it. So I'm like, you're not gonna eat it, I'm not gonna make it. So the starter is still in the fridge. I could resurrect it if I wanted to, because you can leave that starter for a long time, you know, scrape off the mold, you know, and get 25 grams going. You can light it up again. But, you know, the interest for that has really gone away. Now that I'm 5 months in to full ketosis, I really don't think I'm going back. I'm getting such good results. You know, I run a physical lifestyle. I'm out pruning here the last 3 days, and I want to be a climbing arborist when I'm 85. Literally, like my go-to. I think I mentioned this in the last video, Joshua 14, where Caleb's talking to Joshua, and he says, yeah, it was 45 years ago that Moses sent us into the land to take a look at it. You know, now I'm 85 years old, and I am today who I was then. I'm as strong today as who I was then. And, you know, I know in 5 months, less than 5 months, I am today what I was when I was 40, and I'm 58. So I've gained 18 years of physical ability. I do a few exercises, 40 push-ups. I do 40 crunches, and then while I'm laying on my back for the crunches, I put my hands under my back end and I do bicycles, and I do 40, each leg forward 40 times. And then I get up and I do 40 aggressive deep knee bends with a little jump at the end. So that's a pretty aggressive exercise. You feel a little winded after that. It's not quite a sprint. And then I want to incorporate some sprinting. I've done a little bit of that, but we're getting into winter now, and I don't have a club membership anywhere. I don't have a club with a track in there or anything like that. So sprinting might be a little dicey in the wintertime in Wisconsin. So I might just do the deep knee bends all through the winter, and then pick up on the sprints in the spring. But feeling great physically, my musculature, I'm almost to where I was, when I was 26. I tested 7% body fat when I was 26, when I started working in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. They had down in Glencoe, Georgia, they had a physical fitness battery test, and you had to do a body fat test. You had to have a certain level of body fat, which I got down to 7%. And then you had to do a number of other things. And so that was probably, after college, that was the lightest I was. And I was probably 205 and 7% body fat. So I was 206 this morning after breakfast. So my weight's down there, but I probably don't quite have the muscle mass that I had when I was 26. But I might regain it, in a little while. So I'm anticipating that I won't necessarily drop under 200 pounds or anything crazy like that. I've got a little bit of, subcutaneous fat, which you always do, right? You don't really lose fat cells; they just get smaller. But I can pinch a little bit around my waist. There's a little bit extra yet, and it's getting pretty defined. I got a 4-pack with the 6-pack it's underneath there. You can see it, but it's not quite defined as a full 6-pack. So I've got a little bit more fat to lose. And on that note, I kind of took Dr. Westman's advice. I was doing the Fat Bomb coffee, the bulletproof coffee with extra butter in there. I do put full fat cream in my coffee still, but I nixed out the butter. I thought, okay, I've got a little bit more to lose. Dr. Westman says, you want to lose fat, don't eat a bunch of extra fat. And so I cut out some of that extra liquid fat that I was doing. I do bone broth every once in a while, and of course there's some liquid fat in bone broth. But at any rate, I started losing again. I was kind of plateauing at 210. I'd gotten down to like 206, and then I back up to 210, and I was kind of plateauing around 210. Now I'm kind of back down 206, 207, and staying there, like day in and day out, weighing in around that weight. And so if I maintain my exercises, I could probably maintain that 205, a little bit of muscle mass increase, a little decrease in body fat. And as I get leaner, if I maintain my protein intake, I'm probably going to put on a little bit of muscle weight. I know my musculature has gotten defined significantly since I started this. I was getting a little soft, you couldn't see it necessarily, but I could see it. And now it's, even Lisa's like, yeah, you're looking a lot younger. And so that's, encouraging. There's a lot of positive, mental psyche that you get from that as a man my age. So I'm feeling young. There's enough reward. I'm not going back. and this is such an easy thing for me to do. I'm going to give a presentation at my church for our men's breakfast, and we're going to kind of do a full carnivore breakfast probably, but I'm going to present it just as something I'm doing. And I'm reading the new book Ketogenic by like 62 authors, but it was compiled mostly by Timothy Noakes, and it's I think 60 some authors mentioned in there, but it's a compilation of a lot of papers, and so different papers that people have done over the years, and they created a textbook out of those papers, and it's 500 pages, and I'm 150 pages in, and really enjoying that. Going to try to get more of that read this week while I'm on another vacation. And in mid-November, I'm going to give this presentation on the ketogenic lifestyle, because I think so many people could benefit from this. I mean, now that I've been bringing in so much information and watching all the main people. Dr. Berry I take in quite a bit, Dr. Chafee I take in quite a bit, and some of the people they've had on, and Dr. Westman I listen to a lot, and then Keto Down Under, Low Carb Down Under, I follow that channel, so that's got them all on there at various times, various conferences that they've had over there, and so that's been, I've got a lot of information in my head to pass along, and a lot of links to pass along to people. I think Dr. Westman is probably the most practical and probably well-rounded, because he kind of rides that fence of the academia and then the keto world, and so if you're presenting to a wide-ranging audience, I think Dr. Westman is a great resource for that audience. Dr. Berry is great. If you like redneck Tennessee, straight from the hip shooter, Dr. Berry is great and real simple. Cut out. He's got like a 3-step process. Cut out all the carbs, cut out all the seed oils, and cut out the dairy, and just go hardcore for 90 days. And I've incorporated in the dairy, and then, like I said, I started making chocolate. So I think I started saying this and I got distracted, but I gave up my sourdough, and now I started making chocolate, which isn't exactly, just easy. you gotta try to make good chocolate, and of course it's like super low carb, so I only have 2 tablespoons of honey in quite a good batch of chocolate, so it's 95% cocoa, made with real cocoa butter and cocoa powder, and so just using that as a supplement. My sister-in-law uses that, so that's where I got that idea. But at any rate, that I don't break out from that or anything, so that's one of the things I've tested. And then we've got some vegetables fermenting. I've got some green beans fermenting, some cauliflower we fermented, and put a little calcium chloride in there to keep them crunchy. And so I might do some fermented vegetables here and there. But I'm going to stay 20 grams of carbs or less, and that works for me, because I can eat. I'm never hungry. I can eat till I'm full, and I'm probably only doing, definitely under 2,000 calories a day. probably around 1,500. I know they did a study where they had calorie restricted diet and a carb restricted diet. The carb restricted diet, they said, eat as much as you want. And they self-regulated to about 1,500 calories a day. And the calorie restricted diet, they said you got to stay to 1,500 calories. And they had to work at staying at 1,500 calories, and they had to fight all their urges, and they were hungry, and they and some of them cheated, and the low carb is just so easy. You just pay your dues early and get all the way to ketosis, and then it's easy. There's no urges, no nothing. I cut out all the artificial sweeteners. I know Dr. Westman says, no, don't worry about that. But I think they cause a lot of craving. And I think I avoided a lot of cravings by cutting those out. I do a little bit of, gum for breath and stuff. So I get a little artificial sweetener and gum. But I don't drink artificial sweetener, in volume like that. I've killed the sweet tooth. And that's why, 95% cocoa, most people that try are like, man, I don't need to do that again. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty smooth. I had a half a glass of red wine, when we were on vacation. I've done that, a couple times. And that is, tastes like decent to me. Like, I hated dry wine. I hated it. I was a port guy. Like, give me sweet. Give me the sweet wine. And so now I probably wouldn't even like port, which, that's too bad. But the dry red wine, like Pinot Noir, was, smooth. And, I hardly drank any. It was like what made it through the whole meal, and then I left a part of a glass, and it just, my whole palate has changed, and for the better, I think. And so I think my labs, I'm getting excited. Probably December I'm going to do labs again, and I'm going to try to stick to an 8-hour fast. I'm going to purposefully do an 8-hour fast, no more. And I'll probably introduce the buttered coffee 3 days prior, increase my fat intake 3 days prior, which they say will increase the LDL receptors on my liver if you increase your fat content 3 days prior to your tests. And then don't fast longer than 8 hours. And I'm going to see where I can get my LDL to. And that's just me playing little games. But you never know. Maybe I've got to, get some more life insurance or something. And if I flag out at 284 on my LDL, they're going to deny me life insurance or something like that. There's some reasons why you might want to take an LDL test and have it score lower. Some real practical reasons, because it's just a snapshot in time. I think it was Dave Feldman that walked up. Dr. Westman was telling the story. Dave Feldman walked up to him before they knew each other. This is early on. He goes, look what, Dr. Westman, look what happens when I test my cholesterol 5 times in a day. Dr. Westman's like, what? You're a nut, and so, he was showing that his cholesterol like fluctuated within the day, and wherever it lands when you take the test, that's where it is. And so, there could be a very good reason to have it land in the right spot at the right time. And so I'm going to figure out how to do that for my own purposes, and keep my general practitioner doctor happy. It's going to be fun. I've kind of set a goal to bring her along, and we'll see. Because Dr. Westman actually was brought into the whole fold by two of his patients. You know, one of them first, and then a second one, and then he's like, "Hey, there's something to this." And look at him now. So my doctor is almost a vegetarian, you know, probably a pescatarian. And so there's a long way to go before she's gonna embrace the ketogenic lifestyle. But I can't argue with the results so far. So I'm gonna head out to North Dakota this week, bringing along some steaks. You know, just some good advice on steaks. Dr. Chafee turned me on to this. You go out and buy some steaks, you bring them home, salt them right away. I take them out of the package, I salt them, I put them all in a container, you know, sealed up with salted on all sides. And then you don't have to worry about them going bad in your fridge. And if you buy them on sale right at the end, you know, they're on the last day of expiration, salt them up. You know, you buy yourself a lot of time by salting them up. You're starting to cure the meat. And I'll tell you, you cure it for 5 days, you age it for 5-6 days in salt, and that is just going to be the best steak. I made steak for our family gathering. We had a harvest dinner this last Saturday. I made no less than 15 steaks, and they all turned out like perfect, and everybody was raving about it. I mean, I've never had a steak in a restaurant that tasted like mine. Just, I don't know, 5 days, 6 days of aging goes a long way. So there's my hint for the day. But I better get out here and help these guys finish cleaning up, get this job done. It's 2 o'clock, and I got to get home and get packed up for North Dakota, going out to visit my parents. So yeah, this is Kevin Ham, Game of Trees, and this is my ketogenic lifestyle documentation. So we're almost 5 months in, and we're having a lot of fun. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.